Okay, so every one of you, in the last session, we have discussed about what is the purpose of programming languages and what are the three different programming languages that we generally use in order to develop web applications. And in that, we discussed like there will be user interface for humans to communicate with the application, and behind user interface there will be business logic coding programming languages, which is going to take the data what is submitted from the UI, and behind coding there will be a storage place that is called as database. So the interaction in any application is going to happen like from user interface it will go to business logic. From business logic the request is going to go to database, and the same whenever we are going to interact with database, the application, from database the request will come back to business logic, and from business logic the request finally going to come back to browser, that is what user interface. Data may get displayed like that. And now, so out of these three layers, first we are going to start with the middle one, that is programming language. So in the programming language, specifically we are going to discuss about Java programming language, which is much essential for every fresher to know and understand about. In many of the interviews they will be asking about Java, so just it is for freshers mainly. So the reason why they are going to look into Java is, see, many tools that are available in the market and many different application development tools mainly that are being built based on Java. And whether you know about Java or you know about Python or CPP, any of the programming languages, there will be some underlying core concepts based on which these technologies, these programming languages have been developed. So that is called as object-oriented programming concepts. So object-oriented programming concepts, it defines some of the specific underlying concepts. Okay, so the programming language has been derived based on this underlying object-oriented programming concepts. So everything that we come across in Java or Python or CPP, that is based on the basic OOPS concepts. Okay, so without OOPS you don't have Java and you don't have Python or you don't have CPP. Well, it comes to object-oriented programming. But if you are writing a structured programming, then there is no meaning of OOPS there. Okay, it is just without object and all. Okay, so now let's go ahead and discuss about the concepts of OOPS, each one in detail with real life examples. See, many people, they know about advanced Java and so many concepts, but well, when we are going to ask them to explain the basics of the programming language like OOPS concepts and all, they will not be able to explain properly. And one more thing is, many people who are working on tools, okay, for the application development, so they will be able to work on the tools, but when it comes to the basics on which the tool is being built, like OOPS concepts or core concepts of the Java and all, they will not be able to respond for that. See, having good knowledge in the respect to technology or tool is not only sufficient thing, but also one should know about the basic fundamental underlying concepts from which the respective programming languages have been derived. Without knowing this, there is no meaning of saying that the person is skillful. Okay, so that's why we have to look at the things from the very basic level, starting from the object-oriented programming concepts. So in the object-oriented programming concepts, there are specific concepts like encapsulation, class, inheritance, and there are types of inheritance within the inheritance, and attributes, methods, abstraction, and object, polymorphism, multi-threading, access modifiers. Okay, so these are all different concepts or topics that comes under object-oriented programming. See, object-oriented programming, when I say object-oriented programming, it is not the actual implementation. It is it is like, you can understand, it's like one methodology, let's say, for example. Okay, one methodology. So the concept is being told there in the object-oriented programming, but the implementation of that concept has to be done in any of the programming languages. We have Java, Java is been implemented based on object-oriented programming language concepts, and CPP is been implemented based on object-oriented programming concept. Similarly, Python has been implemented based on object-oriented programming concepts. So each of these without object-oriented also we can write, but object-oriented is effective, that you will understand going forward how come it is effective and all. Tomorrow, if you want to develop your own programming languages, you may use this object-oriented programming concept, and you are going to design and develop your own programming language and the compiler for the programming languages. Understand? So that's what every programming language, not every programming language. So any programming language that we say it is an object-oriented programming language that has been built based on these object-oriented concepts. That is a derivation from object-oriented programming concepts, out of which the first one is encapsulation. So what is meant by encapsulation? Just hold on. See, the definition of encapsulation is, it is grouping of certain functional units and attributes into one single package. So you are going to group to have certain attributes and functional components into one single unit. Functional components into one single unit structure. Okay, just hold on. Into one single unit. See, this particular unit, when it has been executed, or you say invoked, it performs a task. Performs a task. That is what every programming language in the real life, every programming language that we have is to perform the real life day-to-day tasks. So now in the object-oriented programming language, we have a concept called encapsulation. Encapsulation means grouping of attributes and functional components into one single unit. So this particular unit, when invoked or when executed, it is going to perform some certain task. Let's say, for example, see, let's take an example. I already told you like during the Pega classes, but let me tell you once again. Okay, see, you take an example of bookmaking machine. Bookmaking machine. So every one of you can easily imagine how a bookmaking machine is going to be. Okay, so where there will be different components. What are the different components that will be there in bookmaking machine? The components will be, there will be a roller which is going to accept the paper onto it, and what else will be there? There will be a sizing tool and cutting tool, binder, what else? No, not bookmaking. Let's say notebook making tool. Okay, that's fair enough. And binder, and then so there will be a dispenser, right? There will be a dispenser. See, now these are the individual components. These are different functional components of bookmaking machine. Roller, sizing tool will be there, cutter will be there, and binder will be there, and dispenser which is going to throw out the book, right? See, and now if you want to get a book out of the bookmaking machine, so what do you need to supply? What do you need to supply? We need to supply paper bundle as an input to the machine. So paper bundle you are going to supply, you are going to place it on the roller. The roller is going to roll and it will move the paper, and then there will be some tool for sizing it, and then it is going to size, and there will be a cutter, it is going to cut, and there will be a binder, and dispenser is going to dispense it out, right? Now here bookmaking machine is an encapsulation of all these tools, whatever that you are seeing here: roller, sizing tool, cutting tool, binder, and dispenser. All of them are going to be fit into bookmaking machine. So overall bookmaking machine, when you execute it, what will happen? When you are going to execute it, it is going to accept an input from you, right? So when you provide the input to it, then it is going to process the respective things and it will perform the task by generating some output. So what is the output of the machine? So input is only paper, you told, that's okay as of now. And what is the final output of this one? Output is books. Okay, and number of books. See, now when you are going to process the raw paper as an input, what is the size that it has to take? So it has to size it, right? How does the machine knows what size it has to take? See, the same book you might be using to generate, like, let's say output 1/8 size, 1/7 size, A4 size books, A3 size books, it depends, right? So that size you need to just mention as an input. In the input, apart from this paper, you will also have, so first you supply the paper, okay? And then what else you are going to give? Size. Size you have to just specify that as a parameter. And is it something the entire paper has to be cut into books, or you need only specific number of books? Let's say I want 1000 books out of it, right? I want 1000 number. So up to 1000 only it will make. Once the 1000 number is reached, then it is going to stop processing it. Okay, I want 1000 number book. Okay, so like this, you are going to supply some input attributes. These are called as attributes, input attributes. And now the output will be n number of books. Obviously, how many books you will be getting? So here you have given n, so 1000 number of books here you get as per the example. Now, if you are going to take each individual component here, so if you divide all these tools separately without combining, so does it make any sense? Each individual component, can it perform a task of making a book? So all these have to be grouped into one single encapsulation under one roof. All these have to be placed under one single roof. That is what here we have a book making machine. So now encapsulation means you are going to encapsulate, means group together all different functional units. All these functional units works together. It's not independent again. All these functional units are going to work together as per its functionality. And finally it performs a task and generates an output, right? So encapsulation means grouping of functional components. It is not only functional components. Here we have attributes too. You need to supply some attributes along with the functional components. You need to have some attributes. See, without attributes, how the machine works? Machine may not work. It doesn't know what to do, right? So which size it has to cut, you have to definitely supply that parameter. And how many books you want, you have to definitely supply. And the number of books also you have to supply. If you are not supplying anything, there should be some defaults. Okay, if you're not supplying anything and if you're trying to process it, maybe it will by default take A4 size 100 books and generate 100 books out of it, right? So like this, so encapsulation is grouping of attributes and functional components into one single unit. That particular unit is going to accept a specific input and it is going to generate a specific output by performing the required task. See, all these concepts are derived, are defined. For which purpose? What is the reason encapsulation has been defined in the real I mean, like in the object-oriented programming language? The encapsulation purpose is to implement the same in the real world to solve the real world problems, or to perform the real world tasks. So encapsulation in the object-oriented programming concept has been defined in order to solve the real world problems or in order to perform the real world tasks. That means I can use this underlying methodology and take it, give it a form in the real world, so that when you are going to give a form in the real world, it is going to perform the required task. If you look at it as a physical substance, The physical substance, the example can be a bookmaking machine, right? But in a software is not a physical one, right? Software is all about, what is it? It is a product, but it is not physical, right? It is machine oriented, right? Software is just like a piece of code. It is not a physical one. So now in a software, you have to try to implement the same encapsulation concept. So that is where you come across with programming languages. If you want to write your own programming languages, if you want to build your own programming language, take the concept of encapsulation. It has been taken by Microsoft, and they came up with VB and C#, right? There you have encapsulation, right? And it has been taken by Sun Microsystems, and they have come up with Java, and now it is Oracle, right? Oracle has taken it. And like this, someone has developed CPP. They have taken this concept of encapsulation, and in their programming language, encapsulation has been implemented. See, the implementation of encapsulation in the programming languages, they have given a name there. Okay, encapsulation is a raw concept. The concept name is encapsulation. When you take into a software programming language, again you can give a name. So the name for that they have given is class. What is the name? Second one is class. Understand, everyone? Clear? So now you can easily define a class. We'll think about more technical later. Okay, as of now we are not going to discuss about too technical. So now exactly encapsulation you bring into a programming language, that is Python programming language, Java programming language, CPP, C#, VB. There are different programming languages developed by different vendors in the market. Tomorrow you may also take the same concept and design and develop your own programming language with a predefined structure of some syntaxes and all. Okay, then that is going to implement the concept of encapsulation. Then you can give a name, different name also you can give, but all of them are giving the same name, that is called as class. So now from the definition of encapsulation, we can easily say the definition of a class the same way, functional oriented only. Again, class is also, it is group of collection of, it is group of attributes and functional components again, but it is a blueprint of object, and or it is skeleton of object, something you are telling, right? So that we will come across later, not now. Okay, because without knowing what is an object, we should not discuss about class in that perspective. Okay, so again the definition of encapsulation here is going to be applicable for class. You can say there's nothing wrong. Okay, but while you are talking about class, you have to talk about it in a technical sense. So the grouping of attributes and functional components into one single unit, then this particular unit, when it is executed, it is going to perform a task. Here also I can add something. So this unit takes a specific input and generates a specific output. See, if you are in your day-to-day life, if you are doing some task, definitely you will expect some output, right? Definitely. Without output, any task are we going to do? Suppose if you are attending this class, what is the output that you are expecting from this class? You want to gain the knowledge on some subject. Suppose there is no output, is there any meaning of execution of the class? I mean, class, when I say this classroom, I mean like the session, what is going on? You are attending the session in order to gain some knowledge. So at the end of the session, you should have acquired some knowledge, right? So everything that you do in your day-to-day life, from morning to till you go to bed, every task that you do, definitely you'll expect an output from that. If you're going to brush, we expect the result will be some brightness, cleanliness. Okay, everything that you do, definitely you are going to do it expecting some output, and where we produce some input to it, right? So that is what a programming is always real life. There is nothing new in the programming. Programming is always real life. There's nothing new. So that is what about a class. So this particular sentence here, I can copy and paste here. So this is a class. Next step. See, about objects and all, I'll tell you later. It will take time. See, in a programming language, if you want to define the attributes and if you want to define the functionalities, then how are you going to define? How are you going to define a class? So the syntax of class. So it should start with class, the keyword. It is a keyword. Keyword means it is a predefined one in that particular programming language. Class, and then class name. There should be a name to the class, and there should be an open brace and closed brace. Okay, means I told you, right, it is grouping. How you group? The group will be known to it by open and closed brace in the programming language. So now you define some attributes. So attribute 1 like this, attribute 2, and so on and so on. Then what about methods? Method 1, I am not going to bother about the definition of the method. Otherwise, I can write down here like this. Some coding will be done here, and there will be method 2 like this, and there will be some piece of coding. Okay, now the same bookmaking machine, whatever I have told, if I wanted to define it in the programming language, how would I define it? As per bookmaking machine. Okay. Okay, so now class, what is the class name? Bookmaking machine, that is the name of the class. I'll open it and close it. So what are you going to do now? So I'm not going to write any methods like public static void main. I'm not going to tell all about that now. I'll tell you later. Okay, so now tell me about the attributes. What are the attributes? Define an attribute. So the class, in the class, the paper may be the physical one. Still here I am going to define like data types, all that I will tell you later. Okay, I am writing in a generalized way. Okay, that is paper. So paper is of what type? It's a material, right? So material, the material name is paper. And size is going to be like A4, A3, something like that. Okay, and this is input value, that is 100 number, that is number of books. Okay, and these are the attributes. Okay, all these three are attributes. So here I am going to add some comment. Okay, hold on. Attributes. And now coming to the methods part. See, why I'm not writing the data types and all, later we can think about it. Okay, where is it? Methods. You can tell me what are the methods? What are the methods here? So what is the first method name? So the sizing tool, let's say sizing tool, that is the method name. Sizing tool will take the parameter of size value, right? You need to supply the sizing tool with a size. What is the value of the size, like A4, A2, something like that, and it is going to perform a specific task in it. Okay, sizing tool is one method. I'm not going to take this particular braces. Okay, no need, we'll think about it later. Okay, next, what else are there? Cutting tool. So as per the input that it gets from the size value, it is going to cut. Again here also cutting tool, whatever the sizer is going to say, there itself the cutting tool is going to cut. And what else are there? Roller is the first one actually. So the first one is roller, and it will take paper as an input attribute. Okay, and what else are there? Binder. So this will also take paper, and half, it will consider half of it, and it is going to bind it. And once this has been done, so dispenser. So dispenser is going to take a book format, right? Binder is going to make the output from the binder is book, and dispenser is going to take a book and generate a book. So the final output of this one is, so the input you supply for it is paper and size value and number of books. And the final output of this particular program is what? Output is 1000 books are going to get generated out of this. So the same what you are seeing as a physical machine, the same if you have to define it as a class, you can define it like this. So everything that we do in our day-to-day life physically, that can be done in the by using the programming languages. For that you have to write the programs, nothing else. Okay, so let's go ahead and proceed forward further and look at the next concept in the object-oriented programming language. So we discussed about encapsulation and we discussed about class. Encapsulation is actually part of object-oriented programming. Class is specifically part of Java, C#, CPP, like that. Okay, now coming to inheritance. The next concept is inheritance. So what is the general meaning of inheritance? What is the general meaning of inheritance? So in a human relation, in our day-to-day life, so the inheritance is like the family succession. Okay, so in a family we have like let's take the male succession. Okay, where we have father and then child. Father will have father will be there. So this is the succession. Just hold on. I'll take it later. Now attributes and methods, I have already told you here. See, encapsulation means it is grouping of attributes. So what is the meaning of attribute and what is the meaning of method? Technically you are calling this as attributes and methods. What is the meaning of those? What is the importance to have attributes, Chapandi? So in any business, every business, you have some attributes and methods will be there. Okay, what is the importance of attributes? What are attributes first of all? These okay, so attributes. Okay, so what does an attribute define? See, let me tell you an example. Let's take an example of, again, same thing, bookmaking machine you have already seen, right? So in that, number of books and the size of the book, these are the attributes, including the paper, that is an input, one primary one. So what is the importance of these attributes, number of books and all? Number of books and size of the book. If I'm not going to give it, what will happen? What is the advantage of attributes? Why we need to have attributes? What does an attribute do? It carries the input. It is going to carry input if you have to specifically say value. So attribute is going to carry the input value. It is going to carry the input value. Okay, so that is what an attribute going to do. Method, what does it do? Takes the values from the attribute and performs a specific task. There can be 0 or n number of methods exist in a class. Okay, 0 or n, but there should be one in the object-oriented programming languages. So we can say 1 or n. By default, when nothing is there, the overall class itself inside, you can consider it as one method. That is what we call it as main method, where the execution begins and all. Right? So like this is what an attribute is going to carry the input value, and the method is going to take the value from the attribute, and it is going to get executed and perform some specific task. Everyone clear?